Listeners, today we have Jason Blaiklock and Anthony MacDermott from the film 18, The Book of Job. Welcome, fellas.
Welcome, thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes.
Now, I'm quite excited because I didn't know much about this film. I'm a Christian myself, but you don't need to be a Christian to watch this film and find out about the message in it. So first up, what I'd like to do is ask you about how the film came about, how you decided to make it, who you made it with, who got involved, and we'll go from there.
Scissors, paper, rock to see who goes first.
I think Jason needs to talk on this one because he is the ultimate producer, and that's definitely his bag. So over to you on that one, Jason.
And I thank you very much for giving me that compliment, Anthony, but you will say better things than me, so...
We can't make this a mutual appreciation society.
Okay.
Well, you already have, guys.
Right,
but hey,
okay.
what say we just sort of interact with each other and we get to the plot. But
Okay.
so who came up with the idea?
Okay, so I had one of the most unusual moments of my life. I was actually sitting in my bedroom, staring at the blank white wall after having read the Book of Job, and noticed that it read like a film script, which it does. You've got each character at the heading, and then you've got in one point very clearly stating Eliphaz now shouting. I thought, that just sounds like it's been written as a film script. And I was dreaming, staring at the wall, daydreaming, thinking, wouldn't this make an amazing movie? And I kid you not, I felt the heavens opened, or it wasn't that dramatic, but I definitely felt an impression of the sense of, you must do this. And
Wow.
It was such a strong impression, it compelled me to literally go out and do it. I literally felt like I'd been given a mission.
And so I gather that after reading this particular text, that it had a specific message that also gave you that idea, not only that it was written like a movie, but that the actual feel and the meaning of the text had something to do with it as well.
So now you've only given us 20 minutes for this interview, Christine, so I'll reserve that answer to maybe a longer interview, perhaps.
Okay, fair enough.
There's a backstory to Jason's start in this. He's always had a fascination, and prior to this adventure, he had made a Bible movie app where he had religiously, dare we say it, documented every book of the Bible as a watchable movie with the primitive resources he used at the time. So he has form in this space, but he hadn't to this point created a live reconstruction rather than using stock film and stock audio and stock voiceover. And so you can still see that app, and a lot of it's gone viral beyond your imagination. And I think that was a bit of the momentum for him. He loves film, and he loves making, particularly in conjunction with his faith. He loves making art, and that's to me the most inspiring thing is his partner in crime.
So you had something to work off when you started. You had some idea of how it all worked and the concepts and so forth. So where did you go from there?
So I'm just going to go back for a moment, if you'll indulge me.
Not a problem.
I was in my 20s, living literally on the street, bed surf, like couch surfing, or sort of sleeping semi-rough, on drugs, alcoholic, and I hadn't eaten for 3 days, literally. And a dear old friend of my father's came down, this lovely woman, Subaru. She came down and met me at Bondi Beach as I was wandering around dressed in black with a shaved head and said, Jason, you look pretty hungry. Can I get you a sandwich? And I said, sure, I'd love a sandwich. I was mad. I was off my head. And she sat me down on the beach and she said, Jason, how much of the Bible do you remember? Now, I'd grown up as a Christian. I'd read the Bible cover to cover by the time I was 12. I'd probably read it 4 or 5 times. I could not remember one name from the Bible in my drug-addicted, backslidden state. And I was literally quite mad at that time. But that one moment brought such clarity. It, in an instant, brought me to my senses and began my journey out of that hell. But it also made me aware of how important the Bible is and what a life raft it is when you're in darkness. That's the foundation for this film.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then leap forward to a point in his life where he's got a formulated idea, and he decides that he wants to buy an electric piano. He has no idea what electric piano to buy, but he looks on whatever the platform is. Probably can't even talk about the name of that platform on this show, but anyway. And I get this message from a local guy wanting to buy a piano that I had. And he Jason turned up. I didn't know him from a bar of soap about 4 or 5 years ago. I'd just lost both of my parents. I was suffering incredible anxiety with work and with all sorts of other things, deep in the dark of a, dare we say it, biblical depression. And this person walks in with like a breath of fresh air and walks out with my piano under his arm. I'm now very jealous he has that piano, by the way. And then he contacted me completely out of the blue. Completely. This is struck. This is like it being struck by lightning, and invited me to participate in scoring his movie. I didn't realise how underdeveloped that movie was at the time, but I'm pleased that it wasn't that developed. And he gave me full, unconditional editorial control over the music, which was something that I just didn't believe I was ever going to get. And he took me from a state of lost in the wilderness, confused, anxious, to sitting at a piano with a Bible next to me. Can you imagine the mission accomplished, that sign that came up on his window when he had this man in despair, working through a Bible and playing the piano, and it's from that we've established a lifelong relationship in the space of all of about 4 or 5 years. It's astounding, to be honest with you.
As they say, God works in mysterious ways, and it's never the way you expect. So, as I said, I don't know much about this movie, so you've got quite a lot of music in it, and the scores are...
There are a multitude of things. The music is designed to keep the pulse of the plot moving forward. Jason might give you a backstory on the way it was originally filmed by a brilliant theatre director. So the performances are really solid, and the whole movie stands on the acting performances. They are incredible. They're profound. So there was a lot to work with, but the object of any scoring process, I've subsequently learned, is not to get in the way of the good acting. It's just to give it momentum or bring it back to zero. Silence is a very useful tool to use when there's a really poignant moment on the screen. So it's really important. I love doing the trailer. That's the one where you get a big burst of excitement and you get 3 minutes to just go crazy. But at the same time, there are moments in there where we agonised. I can remember the afternoon when we scored it with about 100 pieces to choose from. We literally put them into spot. And we walked out and we shook each other on the hand. And it was one of the most satisfying afternoons, but it was one of those moments where you have to live through it to realise the suffering we had to try and piece that. It was a jigsaw. It was a huge jigsaw that we did that day. But the important thing about the music for me was to not get in the way of these incredible performances, which I think, I don't know if Jason might be about to mention it, but we're actually going to open at the Coleroy Cinema in about a month's time. Which would be really exciting for us because we're both Northern Beaches boys, but we're both born and bred on the Northern Beaches. So we're very excited to be premiering it at the Coleroy Cinema.
It's such a landmark. We love the Coleroys. I always love the Coleroy Cinema. I mean, it's just one of the most iconic locations from Manly to Pittwater. I mean, it's such a beautiful location. It's such a staple. So I just love that we can just put a showing on there and invite people in.
And it's still available as a live theatre. It's the only one left. In 1938 it was built, wow. And it's the only one left on the beaches, on the whole area, which is fantastic. So, and I think that will be on Wednesday the 20th at 6 p.m. Yep. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit more about that. So tell me about the actors. They're Australian actors?
We've got an incredible cast. So Daniel Whittinson runs the Salt Salt and Light Theatre Company up on the Central Coast. He's the director of the film, and he brought in an amazing cast. The standout, obviously, Josh Adamson, who played Job. So Josh is an incredible Australian, now living over in Hollywood, doing amazing things. But the passion that he brought, I was astonished that these actors all learnt their chapters-long script with a month and a half into production. They were astonishing. I had always assumed, wrongly I learnt, that they would use teleprompters. They didn't. They learnt the scripts off by heart. We're talking about 4, 5, 6 chapters each. So you've got Job's wife, Jessica Marchi. She did an amazing job. There's some incredible scenes that unfortunately didn't make it, but just her grief that she brings to having lost everything was really significant. So we loved her. And then we got Shane Emmett. He was Eliphaz, again, played an incredible role and really brought his own flavour to it. And they're just amazing guys. Bildad, we got Elihu and Zophar, Ben Brock for Zophar, Tim Lim, and then amazing, our friend who played... Roberto Zenka. How could I miss Roberto? What a talent. Roberto's gone on to do some amazing things. So they're all actors in their own right, playing in the Hollywood space and doing amazing films. So love them all, and they did an incredible job. And Daniel Widdowson brought that theatrical talent to them. It's like Shakespearean opera. It really is. It's like watching Shakespeare. It's in that sort of zone. So when you go to see the film, what you're watching is a book come to life in the same way the Shakespearean films have been brought to life. So it's not a car chase adventure. It's not a bombs going off, but there is a whirlwind that turns up. And, it really gives God a time to speak, which was quite significant. You don't hear God speak much in films.
Okay, so you actually get a God voice within that film somewhere.
God, we don't want to be a spoiler alert, but God does make an appearance.
Oh, wow.
He does. And Neil Modra did an incredible job playing Job's God. Job playing Job's God. Neil Modra.
It's a tongue twister.
we had different voices to play God. We tried 3 or 4 different actors, and they were all very competent actors, but none of them...
The voice didn't work. Yeah.
And it's not a deep, booming thing that we were looking for, because you can do that in, effects. It was more just having that connection of... I wanted someone where you could feel the strength of God's love. There's an awe in God's love that really is very hard to put your finger on. I didn't want just a voice. And Neil Modra actually brings this voice that takes you to another place.
I watched him perform that. He had about 4 or 5 goes at this monologue, which is probably maybe 10 minutes long. And on each occasion, it reminded me of a graphic designer just trying to get the essence of out of what the thing is that he's portraying. And is God angry? I remember the confusion on his face. Is God calming? Is God soothing? And he really drew the essence out of love, basically. And the end result is somewhere between, a command with a humble command. When we picked him up on the way in to play God, and it's a big role to play. I mean, there's not many people can fill those. I mean, he had to put his headphones on and listen to nothing the whole way, and he didn't want distraction before he gave his monologue.
So he did quite a lot of preparation on
massively.
The way in.
No, he really felt it was a bit of a calling. He really felt he was called to do the role and gave it everything. It was quite incredible.
Once again, he knew his monologue off by heart. So this was an astounding, and that's just worth emphasising that there's nothing here that's not in the Bible. Every spoken word is an excerpt, is the Bible. There's a 2.5-hour version and a 90-minute version, which is the version we're playing at the Colorado Cinema. They both are extracted precisely from the Bible. So the acting and everything is a portrayal of exactly the language used in the Bible, which is pretty unheard of in in the modern world.
Very much so. Everybody wants to put their own interpretation onto it, and that frustrates me something fierce because some of those interpretations are way off.
Yeah.
So it's great to hear that it's been portrayed as it should be.
Yeah.
Really looking forward to seeing it. So tell me about directing it and how that felt and the logistics of getting that done.
So Excelsior Productions is a production company that has come out of Excelsior University. That is their inaugural film production. So they're a Christian college in Sydney, the first Christian university actually right now. They're an amazing college. They gave their premises as a studio and all of their students as volunteers and interns and paid staff, and it was an incredible mix of students and professionals and alumni, and everyone got together and created this incredible wall-to-wall four-stage psych, which was basically a green screen. And then I think it was about 4 tons of sand were brought into this big hall, and then a big, bushy area was created, and the whole set was created as a green screen, and the film was shot in that location. So it was shot with wall-to-wall green screens, and quite an incredible undertaking. And that was I think it was a 7-day shoot, and we got it all done.
Well, that was great of them to make themselves available and their premises and get all that done just for your film.
Well, they funded the film, so
well,
had a vested interest
they
in
had to
making
be
sure
good. Then
it was easy to keep an eye on it.
But I walked around the set and I was blown away. You had people with headsets and, screens and clipboards and people doing what they had to do. There was a million of ants doing from makeup, because Job, particularly when things turn a little sour for poor old Job, the makeup artists went to town, and that was Jason will probably say, but if it took less than 2 hours to put that makeup on, I'd be surprised. And these are multitude of warts and oozing, pussing blood and that kind of thing.
Well, the kids are going to love that.
I love it.
But there was such a well-oiled machine, and of course, Jason, I've never seen him in a suit since. He walked around like a lawyer.
Okay, so it was kind of funny because on day one, I thought you could look. Let's be honest, I've never done this before. I'm a complete rookie, so I thought I could just rock up and say good day and then leave. And I had a very good mentor say, mate, you're about to work harder than you've ever worked in your life on day one. By day two, I knew exactly what he was talking about. I think it turned into 60, 70-hour weeks, and it was crazy. And what an experience. But, I'm very thankful for the journey.
So would it be fair to say that experience, that particular university, those students would never have experienced had you not done that there?
Absolutely. This was such a gift to all of the students, all of the alumni that were able to take part, even the actors, to go into a feature film. We just don't make that many of them here in Sydney at this level. Yes, there are the big ticket productions, but at that student level, there's not a lot of feature films that actually get made, and especially in the Christian space, there you can count them on one hand. How many have been made in the last 10 years is very, very rare. So it was a real treat.
Very valuable experience
Absolutely,
for them.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Okay, so we're heading into the 20th of May, 2026 at 6 p.m. at Collaroy, and you are going to be there. So who else is going to be there that the listeners and the people that are attending can come and meet and ask you about the film afterwards? And
Yeah, well, Steven Spielberg hasn't responded yet,
Damn.
so sorry about that. But look, we're looking like the cast and crew, as many of the cast and crew that have put their hand up to come along. So we'll get to see some of the cinematographers, the cameramen, the director, Daniel Widdowson will be there, and some of the actors will make a showing if they're not in Hollywood doing bigger and brighter things. So a lot of the cast and crew.
And I know that God doesn't pay for his own ticket, but there's a pretty good chance that God will be in the house at the same time.
oh, well, there you go. And there's a double meaning on that one. So, but no, that's great. So the people of the Northern Beaches and anyone outside the Northern Beaches that wants to come in and see this film on the big screen, first time on the big screen, first time ever anywhere, can come in and actually meet these people
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, we'll do some nice little giveaways. We've got some great little giveaways for the night as well, so it'll be a lot of fun and quite a unique experience.
So I also hear that you've got a photo wall happening.
We do, yes.
So tell us about the photo wall.
So we've actually managed to put together a lovely gift for everyone that turns up, which is it's actually a QR code book of the movie. So you've got your old traditional Bible. This will be unlike anything you've ever experienced. It's actually the Book of Job, and each page actually has a QR code where you can actually watch each chapter as a word-for-word movie, which is
awesome.
Really fun. So everyone that comes is going to get one, and it's a first release of that book as well, which is quite an incredible little piece.
Because Jason's been working hard at making this have a wide appeal for the local cinema, and also for the multitude of Christian colleges across the US and in Australia that might be interested in studying the book. It's a very convenient way of getting the words acted to you. So it comes with a secondary purpose, which is as a study mechanism. And I should mention too that the Book of Job is a very confronting book. It's good. People should be aware that it's got a lot to get through. Life really does suck sometimes. And Job really suffered as a consequence of that. And it's that which is so uplifting about the book. And it's hard to believe it was written, Jason, when would it have been written?
I reckon it's actually arguably the first story ever put down in the historical record. So, the history states that Job is literally the first book that humanity ever experienced, which is quite profound.
Yeah.
And it asks questions about, why do young children die? Why do we have to face that? We have Job, with his fist to the sky, asking, why has this come to me? Why are we suffering here? Why can't life be heaven? And these are really confronting issues for the Bible to deal with in book number
18.
Book number 18. They're confronting issues.
And they're still relevant today.
We have to face it all. Yeah. Everyone has to face it in their life. And that's what I think is the beauty of the book. Here I am coming out of my own suffering, dealing with a book where these issues come up. And the 90-minute version, I must say, is very good to get through. I never really understood the book until it was chopped down to 90 minutes. We can get the most out of it. And you do walk out understanding that the questions that we face now have been around for thousands of years.
Can I just throw in, I'm so glad you said that, because I've been working on this script for years, and I too did not actually understand the book until I saw the finished film. Isn't that interesting? Because
it is, yeah. Again, interpretation.
It brings it to life because you're actually watching the characters, and you will be challenged. And I'd love to hear your comment after the film. How many have given the advice of Job's friends? Because I know for a fact I've given the same advice as Job's friends, which we now know was wrong. Even after watching the film, I've almost felt the advice come up my throat and almost leave my mouth until I remembered, hold on a second, in the book of Job, that was exactly the same advice that Job's friends gave that God said was not the right advice. It's such a challenge to listen to how God actually deals with suffering.
Well, I tell you what, you've really got my curiosity piqued, and I'll bet you anything our listeners are just sort of going, wow, we better check this one out, because I'm as curious as hell now. So thank you very much, Anthony MacDermott and Jason Blaiklock, for coming in and talking to us about the Book of Job, which, again, you will have the actors and the people involved at Colliery Theatre on the 20th of May at 6 p.m.
Thank you for your support. Thank you for having us here, and long live community radio.
And God bless.
Thank you.